The National Electrical Code, specifically Article 760, addresses the requirements for conductors used in fire alarm installations. Understanding the proper conductor size is crucial for ensuring the safety and reliability of these systems. The minimum allowable conductor size for fire alarm installations is 18 American wire gauge. This requirement applies regardless of whether the installation is in a residential or commercial building. The code makes no distinction between these two types of occupancies regarding the minimum conductor size for fire alarm circuits. However, there is an exception to this general rule. Conductors installed within raceways, fire-resistant cables, or other enclosures as permitted by 760.93 E may be 20 American wire gauge. This exception recognizes that the additional protection provided by these enclosures allows for the use of a slightly smaller conductor size. To summarize, the standard minimum conductor size is 18 American wire gauge, but 20 American wire gauge conductors are permitted when installed in specific protected environments like raceways. It is crucial to consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code and specifically Article 760 for complete and up-to-date information. The NEC is regularly updated, and interpretations can vary. Always refer to the specific requirements outlined in the code for your particular installation. The exception allowing 20 American wire gauge conductors is conditional. Section 760.93 He outlines the specific types of raceways and enclosures that qualify for this exception. It is imperative to verify that the chosen wiring method meets these requirements before using 20 American wire gauge conductors. Furthermore, other factors besides the minimum conductor size can influence the selection of conductors for fire alarm systems. These factors include the ampacity requirements of the circuit, the voltage drop limitations, and the environmental conditions. The selected conductor must be capable of carrying the required current without overheating and must not experience excessive voltage drop over the length of the circuit. Environmental factors such as temperature, moisture, and exposure to corrosive substances can also affect the choice of conductor insulation and material. When selecting conductors, always consider the specific requirements of the fire alarm system and the environmental conditions in which it will be installed. Always consult with a qualified electrical engineer or inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and standards. Understanding the requirements for fire alarm systems is essential for ensuring the safety of buildings and their occupants. Correctly sizing the conductors is a critical part of this process, and adherence to the National Electrical Code is paramount. The code mandates that all fire alarm circuits must be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. This requirement means that the wiring must be properly supported, protected from physical damage, and clearly identified. Conductors should be neatly bundled and secured to prevent them from sagging or coming into contact with other objects. The use of proper connectors and terminals is also essential for ensuring reliable connections. All splices and terminations must be made in approved junction boxes or enclosures. These enclosures provide protection for the connections and prevent them from becoming exposed to moisture or physical damage. The National Electrical Code also contains specific requirements for the identification of fire alarm circuits. Conductors used for fire alarm circuits must be clearly marked to distinguish them from other circuits. This marking can be achieved by using colored conductors or by labeling the conductors with tags or markers. Proper identification is essential for ensuring that the correct circuits are de-energized during maintenance or troubleshooting. Fire alarm systems are complex and require specialized knowledge to install and maintain properly. It is essential to hire qualified and experienced professionals to perform this work. These professionals will be familiar with the applicable codes and standards and will have the necessary skills and equipment to ensure that the system is installed and maintained correctly. In addition to the requirements for conductor size and installation methods, the National Electrical Code also addresses the requirements for fire alarm system power supplies. Fire alarm systems must be powered by a reliable power source that is capable of providing sufficient power to operate all of the system components. The power source must also be equipped with a backup power supply, such as a battery, that can provide power in the event of a power outage. The backup power supply must be capable of providing power for a minimum period of time, as specified by the code. The specific requirements for fire alarm system power supplies vary depending on the type of system and the occupancy of the building. It is important to consult the code to determine the specific requirements for your application. Regular testing and maintenance are essential for ensuring that fire alarm systems are functioning properly. The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, provides standards for the inspection, testing, and maintenance of fire alarm systems. These standards outline the procedures that should be followed to ensure that the system is operating correctly and that all of the components are in good working order. Testing should be performed on a regular basis, typically at least annually, by qualified technicians. The results of the testing should be documented, and any deficiencies should be corrected promptly. Proper installation, maintenance, and regular testing are crucial for ensuring the reliable operation of fire alarm systems. It is important to comply with all applicable codes and standards and to hire qualified professionals to perform this work. Fire alarm systems are designed to protect lives and property, and it is essential to ensure that they are functioning properly at all times. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards that addresses all aspects of electrical installations, including fire alarm systems. The NEC is updated every 3 years, and it is important to stay up to date with the latest requirements. The NEC is developed by the National Fire Protection Association, a non-profit organization that is dedicated to reducing the risk of fire and other hazards. The NEC is widely adopted throughout the United States and is considered to be the authoritative source for electrical safety. In addition to the NEC, there are other codes and standards that may apply to fire alarm systems. These include local building codes, fire codes, and accessibility codes. It is important to consult with local authorities to determine which codes and standards are applicable to your specific project. The design and installation of fire alarm systems should be performed by qualified professionals who are familiar with all of the applicable codes and standards. These professionals will be able to ensure that the system is designed and installed in accordance with the code requirements and that it will function properly in the event of a fire. The proper selection and installation of conductors is a critical aspect of fire alarm system design and installation. It is important to choose conductors that are suitable for the application and to install them in accordance with the NEC requirements. By following the code requirements and hiring qualified professionals, you can help ensure that your fire alarm system will provide reliable protection for your building and its occupants. Remember that even though 20 American wire gauge might be acceptable for certain fire alarm circuits according to NEC 760.93, it is very important to check with your local and state regulations to ensure that it is an accepted practice. In some areas, local regulations may supersede the NEC, so if the local regulations state that all fire alarm wiring must be a minimum of 18 American wire gauge, that is what you must follow. This is just one example of why it is so important to verify the regulations that must be followed with local authorities. There could be additional considerations such as the listing of the device that is being connected to. For example, if you are connecting to a fire alarm pull station, the listing of that pull station may require a minimum wire size, which could even be larger than the minimum specified by the NEC. Therefore, it is critical to review the manufacturer's installation instructions for all devices on the fire alarm system to ensure that you are using the correct wire size. Another consideration for fire alarm systems is voltage drop. Although the NEC does not specify a voltage drop limitation for fire alarm circuits, it is generally recommended that the voltage drop be limited to 10% or less. Excessive voltage drop can cause devices to malfunction or not operate at all. Therefore, it is important to calculate the voltage drop in the circuit to ensure that it is within acceptable limits. The voltage drop depends on the wire size, the length of the circuit, and the current flowing through the circuit. If the voltage drop is too high, you may need to increase the wire size or reduce the length of the circuit. In addition to the conductor size, the type of insulation is also important for fire alarm circuits. The NEC requires the conductors used for fire alarm circuits be insulated with a material that is suitable for the environment in which they are installed. For example, if the conductors are installed in a wet location, they must be insulated with a moisture-resistant material. The NEC also specifies the types of insulation that are permitted for use in different applications. It is important to select conductors with the appropriate insulation for the specific application. Another important consideration for fire alarm circuits is circuit integrity. The NEC requires that fire alarm circuits be designed to maintain their integrity in the event of a fire. This means that the circuits must be able to continue operating even if the building is damaged by fire. Circuit integrity can be achieved by using fire-resistant cables, installing the conductors in conduit, or using other approved methods. The specific requirements for circuit integrity depend on the type of fire alarm system and the occupancy of the building. Fire alarm systems are essential for protecting lives and property. It is important to ensure that these systems are designed, installed, and maintained properly. By following the NEC requirements and hiring qualified professionals, you can help ensure that your fire alarm system will provide reliable protection in the event of a fire. Keep in mind that fire alarm systems often have specialized power requirements. For example, many fire alarm systems require a dedicated branch circuit that is not used for any other purpose. This ensures that the fire alarm system will always have power, even if other circuits in the building are overloaded or fail. Also, the overcurrent protection for the fire alarm circuit must be sized correctly to protect the wiring and equipment. It is also important to ensure that the fire alarm system is properly grounded. Grounding helps to protect against electrical shock and can also improve the performance of the system. The grounding system must be installed in accordance with the NEC requirement. Regular inspections and testing of fire alarm systems are essential to ensure that they are functioning properly. The NEC and NFPA provide guidelines for the inspection, testing, and maintenance of fire alarm systems. These guidelines specify the frequency of inspections and tests, as well as the procedures that should be followed. It is important to keep records of all inspections and tests, and to correct any deficiencies that are found. The location of the fire alarm control panel is also important. The control panel should be located in an area that is readily accessible to authorized personnel, such as firefighters or building maintenance staff. The control panel should also be protected from damage and unauthorized access. Remember that fire alarm systems are complex and require specialized knowledge to install, maintain, and troubleshoot. It is essential to hire qualified and experienced professionals to perform this work. These professionals will be familiar with the applicable codes and standards and will have the necessary skills and equipment to ensure that the system is installed and maintained correctly. They will also be able to troubleshoot any problems that may arise and make the necessary repairs. The goal is to ensure reliable operation of these systems for the safety of all occupants.